Well, we might kick things off now, everybody. So thank you very much for joining us, everyone, this evening. I'm Elle Rands from Farmbot Australia. I am the Queensland and Northern Territory Business Development Manager and Account Manager. So thank you again, AgForce, for hosting this webinar this evening. So I have myself from Farmbot, from Cibo Labs, we have Tickle. And from AgriWebb, we have Scott Nevison. So a little housekeeping, please raise your hand with the icon in Teams and ask a question, or feel free to jump into the chat and jot your question down. We love getting some engagement and hearing from you guys and seeing what questions we can answer for you. So before I kick things off, I'd like to start with a question or something for you all to think about, and that's who can tell me what their water is doing right now, or how many people here are going to drive and check their waters this week? We all know that checking water for stock is just a task that needs to be done. It's unavoidable. We also know that leaks and pipe bursts never happen when we're standing at the tank. They happen at the most inconvenient times, whether that be heading to the pub on a Friday afternoon or heading to the coast for the weekend. There could even be one right now. How do you know? So what if we had a solution that could be monitoring your water remotely, where you'd receive a notification alert to let you know that something's wrong, so that you can fix a problem when you have a problem? Farmbot is Australia's leader in water monitoring and is helping solve these problems for over 2,500 farming operations across Australia. Farmbot gives you the ability to check your water remotely, saving you time on costly water runs and giving you that peace of mind, so you can get on with that other list of tasks that we know never get done. Next, we're going to jump into what we call our My Farmbot platform. So I guess logging in over a cuppa in the morning, either on your laptop, iPad or iPhone. This is the overview or the map view that we land on, where you can see it's a simple traffic light system. So green would indicate that there's nothing wrong, everything looks good. Yellow, there's a warning. It could be sitting somewhere where we want to look at, and then red, there could be something going on, so suggesting there's something critical happening. So when we jump into one of our water level tanks, you can see here that it's sitting at 90% and trending steady. The blue line is how the water is trending. The dotted lines are where our alert triggers are set to. So the top yellow dotted line is our high level alert. The middle yellow line is our low level alert, and the bottom red dotted line is our critical alert. So you can jump into the settings in the top right corner, and this is where you can set your alert triggers. As we know, all tanks are different, and you might be wanting to capture different alerts depending on where those points are reaching on the tank. Here you can also choose who in your team needs to be notified via text or email when an alert is triggered. So this can be specific to a tank or property, depending on how you'd like the platform to be managed and who you'd like to see what. And noting that alerts are event driven. However, Farmbot is always constantly recording and storing the information on the tank levels that can be seen at any time. So we also provide up to minute reporting. So in this example is a 48-hour period where you can jump in and see that the water's tracked up to the minute, giving comprehensive analysis of exactly when this water is changing, and that's what we're typically known for. Jumping back into our map view, we're going to check our self-emptying automated rain gauge. So gone are the days of having to manually check and noting down on pen and paper. Clicking into our rainfall rain gauge, here's I guess capturing our rainfall data. So up the top, you can see month to date, year to date. You can also change the period of time when you'd like to see the rainfall, and then up top right corner, you can export this data and can change the duration you'd like to capture. Lastly, we will jump into our pump control and how this works. Once again, the blue line is how the water is trending. The green shaded line is when the pump is active and pumping. One click of the button, you can turn the pump on and off anywhere, anytime. And once again, in the top right corner, you can jump into the settings, and this is where you can change your automation levels and timing for when you want your pump to operate. So you can either base the tank automation on actual water levels from a destination tank without a float valve or a pressure pump, or set it for a specific time of day. So this allows the pump control to only pump when required, which in turn reduces over pumping and any additional expenses. Here is an example of what our alerts will look like in text form. So there's an example of the high level alert, which could indicate overpumping, low level alert, not keeping up with the consumption, and a critical alert indicating there could be a pipe burst or a tank split. So how can you get started is with our hardware. Data shows that we have over 4,000 producers logging in each week to do their water run this way. We have water level solutions that are designed for all operation sizes that provide you with near real-time alerts that we're known for. Starting off with our Farmbot monitor, which is a hypersensitive monitor and connects up to 15 other sensors. This being wireless sensors like our Extend or wireless trough, but also our plug-in sensors, which could be a rain gauge or a camera, for example. We also have the Farmbot Extend, which is an add-on that is wireless and talks to the Farmbot monitor. This device needs to be within 2 to 5 kilometres from a monitor and a good line of sight. And then our newly released Farmbot Lite. So that's for basic monitoring for tanks with 3 metre in depth or smaller. It's a standalone device that operates off satellite. We also have an integration with AgriWebb. So best of all, you can link the Farmbot water monitors and rainfall so that it appears on the AgriWebb marketplace. So therefore, I guess needing to only log into the one platform with all the information for daily and long-term planning. We don't just stop at water level, as I've mentioned a few before. We also have other things that talk to our Farmbot, including pump control, camera, wireless devices, Extend and trough sensors, and our flow monitors. So now I'm going to hand over to Phil Tickle from Cibo Labs, and he's going to share his screen and I'll let him get into it.
Thanks, Elle. You seeing my screen okay? You seeing my screen okay, Elle?
Not yet.
And Elle, just there's a question in the chat there from guest here. What determines when the tank readings are taken?
Yep. So the tank readings are taken, the monitor is consistently reading the levels up to minute, as you could see when we delved a bit deeper and jumped in that up to minute reporting. So it's always capturing the data of the tank levels. However, the notifications or the alerts are given when they reach those alert settings or trigger points that are set by yourself. Hopefully that answers your question, Clay.
Okay, you seeing my screen there, Elle?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thanks very much for taking some time out this evening. What I'm going to do today is really just take you for a little bit of a whirlwind tour of some of the things that we're doing specifically in Cibo Labs, the integration that we have with AgriWebb and soon Farmbot and others as well, and just dive into a few exciting things that we're just about to release in the coming weeks. Just a quick snapshot of Cibo Labs. We're a dozen people. We're basically an agricultural data science company specialising in satellite remote sensing. And while our pasture biomass monitoring is part of our core business, we're involved with a whole range of activities basically right across the industry and across the supply chain. So we're doing work with the sheep and beef sustainability frameworks. We're integrated with Ceres tags. We're doing benchmarking for thousands of farms across Australia for supply chain reporting, natural capital reporting. We are involved with a number of research projects, one of which is the Rangelands Carbon Initiative, which is about a $7 million R&D project with AACO and Food Agility CRC, Mullion Group and Carbon Link, and also another project with AgriWebb for the Forage Caster initiative, which is a major forage forecasting capability we're developing. But really importantly, it's about the integrations. We've actually got a lot of collaboration going on across the industry at the moment, and really the focus is actually on how we take our best of breed applications and integrate them into other partner companies. And I suppose this is what you're seeing here tonight. I suppose the question of why why do we need forage budget assessments, and it's really basically about given that we've got some really dry times ahead of us after a couple of really wet years, to really understand what we have in terms of our feed on offer, how long it's going to last with the stock we have, and when we need to be destocking. How many stock can we run for a defined period, and then really importantly, particularly now with the seasons changing, when are our feed gaps going to occur, and how we might match the forage we've got with supplements. So it really is basically about getting a much more objective measure of how our pasture biomass and our feed on offer is actually is changing through the seasons both at a whole of farm level or an enterprise level, as well as at an individual paddock level. Now, to do that, we've actually got to have some considerable sort of science to develop these products, and we've got about 3,500 farms across Australia now that are using our services in one way or another. We've got in the order of 7,000 field sites, which are fundamental to developing these machine learning models that to be able to predict pasture biomass from satellite data. And we've got these, if you can see on the right-hand side there, we've got every one of those 7,000 sites has got photos down at quadrat level, information on dominant and co-dominant species, palatability, etc. And over the last 5 years, we've been developing this technology. We're now at the point that we're around basically plus or minus 10% in terms of our median absolute error. So it's down at the point now where our estimates of pasture biomass are generally basically within the same error as our field estimates on the ground. There's often anomalies around vegetation and regrowth, etc. But across the board, we're generally within sort of plus or minus 10 or 20% at worst. So this is really fundamental to how we drive these machine learning models actually into individual paddock level data predictions. We've got two levels of service. At the national level, we've got a partnership with Meat and Livestock Australia with the Australian Feed-Based Monitor, which is providing rolling monthly estimates of pasture biomass at land, parcel and farm level. And this is a $4.7 million investment, of which Cibo Labs is paying for half of that to really provide an objective baseline capability for the whole of the industry. And then we've got our pasture key service, which is a 10-metre resolution paddock level service on a rolling 15-day and a 5-day estimate for individual paddocks, and then that integrates with AgriWebb. So one of the messages I really want to focus on here tonight is, if you haven't got a MyMLA account, go and get one. Log in through MyMLA or through MLA. And within a few minutes, you can set up your feed-based monitor and have 6 years of data over all of your farms to look at how the season's trending basically this year compared to previous years. So with AgriWebb, this is just an example here where our data integrates straight into AgriWebb. You can go into the AgriWebb marketplace, select Cibo Labs, and basically generally within an hour, but definitely within a day, you'll have pasture biomass estimates coming into your feed calculator, and you can basically have your a traffic light map of your, the way your pastures are ranked across the property. Your animal data, your estimates of kilos of dry matter, and the feed calculator will be telling you basically how many grazing days you've got left in every paddock, as simple as a dashboard that we're seeing here. Now at the Cibo Labs end, we've got some more granularity, and over time this will be integrated directly into AgriWebb as well. But when you come in through the Cibo Labs portal, they integrate. We've got high resolution imagery in here. We're down at seeing individual trees. This is updated every 5 days. And then we've got a fractional cover layer, which is giving you information on what's photosynthetically active at the time. So you can see the little triangle in here. Those areas that are blue are basically hayed-off buffalo grass. The areas that are green in this case here are basically wooded vegetation. So I just toggle backwards and forwards. You can see the forest in this area in here. And you can see these areas that are sort of a yellowy green colour. They're areas that are actively growing pasture at this time of the year, which is quite, quite unusual for this time of the year in sort of central Queensland. So we've got basically simple measures of pasture quality. And then we've got, I suppose, the money game here is the estimates of kilograms of dry matter per hectare. So in this image here, you can see the variability in the pasture biomass across individual paddocks. Look at a paddock in here, for example, we're going from less than 1,000 kilos to 2,000 and 3,000 kilos across the paddock. And when you click on a paddock, you get an average estimate of kilograms of dry matter per hectare. In this case here, it's saying about 2,300 kilos. It's a 407 hectare paddock, and there's about 950 tonnes of dry matter in that paddock. This information goes straight into AgriWebb to run your feed calculator, but the map here is giving you a much better understanding of the spatial variability in biomass production that you might need to be aware of in terms of your pasture utilisation and effectively where those animals are spending their time or potentially spending their time. We also get a lot of questions around things like cloud cover. We're just coming through winter, and if there's any callers through here in southern Australia, it's been a pretty cloudy, wet winter down south, and we've got some very, very sophisticated methods that we're using to detect the cloud, and also then to basically predict the likely error in the data. So this little graph in here. You can see the size of the dot is the amount of cloud-free imagery, and you can see here there's lots of little dots, which is saying there's lots of cloud, and then we're making a prediction in terms of the biomass, which has got a significant amount of error associated with it. In this case, about sort of 500 kilos. And then we've got another paddock just down the road where we've got cloud-free imagery, and we've got a much tighter prediction over that sort of 15-day period. So a lot of work going into trying to present the accuracy of the data to producers when we actually do have a lot of cloud and rain and other sort of winter effects in terms of that affect the imagery. At the other end, we've now got as I mentioned, the Australian feed-based monitor. And as I said, please, after this webinar, if you haven't got a MyMLA account, jump in and get access to it. And you can literally have your property set up in a couple of minutes. And it'll not only provide you with direct information on your feed base, but it'll also allow you to provide a link into getting an AgriWebb subscription going as well. And this is the sort of information here it provides. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, we've got some land parcels across the property, quite a large property. We've got the variability in pasture biomass, and then we can see here a trend on basically the levels of biomass across this property for this season, which is the red line, compared to the 6 previous seasons. And you can see here that we've pretty much got close to double the biomass that you would typically have on this farm at this time of the year, about sort of 800 kilos or thereabouts. So you can really start to judge the break of season, the timing of your seasons, and how much feed you've got on the ground across your whole property, literally in a couple of minutes. And you can download this data to put it into a feed calculator as well. And we're also developing benchmarking reports. So we've got products that look at the pasture biomass production over time. We've got this relative to rainfall. We've got the ability to look at the pixel level, how much grass every pixel is growing, if you like, in the paddock each season, to give you a handle on sort of basically the productivity and the spatial variability of productivity in the paddocks. We've got benchmarking tools which show you, and I'll focus on the right-hand ones here, but this is basically a graph of the pasture biomass production relative to the neighbours. And in this graph here, you can see a rising plane here where this farm actually over time, over the last few years, is producing more biomass than its neighbour for the same amount of rainfall. So to be able to track that production efficiency and go to your bank and talk to your bank basically about how you're improving your efficiency and also your land condition on your property as well, which we can target around ground cover and tree cover. But we've also got some very cool products that we're going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. And the first of these is basically a pasture anomaly image. So with the quite a shift in cattle prices and livestock prices over the last few months, we've got an exodus in some areas, and you can see here this is effectively the equivalent of a rainfall anomaly map, only we're showing it in terms of pasture anomalies for the month. And you can see these areas through southern Queensland and then down through the New South Wales tablelands and into the coastal areas that are showing well below average pasture biomass for this time of the year. And so we've got an opportunity for producers to get access to this information and make some decisions about what they're going to do right now. And if they've got any mates that might have some grass they can adjust in, you can look at a map and find the best place to go to find some grass. I'll leave it there, Elle, and pass on to Scott.
Definitely looks like I've moved to mission control with this.
Whilst I'm pulling up my slides, it might be worth just touching on those.
Yeah, Phil, there's a few questions in the chat for you.
Yeah, so looking here, what have we got in here? So can you tell the difference between the ground cover and the tree cover and tree leaves? Yeah, so our model basically uses woody vegetation density as a covariate in the model. So we estimate the density of the trees, and then we attempt to moderate the pasture biomass through those trees. So typically, the heavier the tree cover, the less grass you have underneath it. So it's not a perfect science, but certainly we're doing our best to remove the effects of trees and mask the effect of trees when they're very, very dense. And the question there around have you ground truth crops for these producers? We've got a lot of data basically in forage crops, so oats, wheat, barley, and sort of a little bit in sorghum. We've still got some work to do in things like corn and a lot of the broadleaf cover crops, but I'd sort of suggest that our estimates of pasture biomass in those cropping areas is as good as any prediction of biomass that we've got at the moment across any of those landscapes.
Terrific. And just checking my screen is sharing correctly.
Yeah, that looks good to me, Scott.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, it's a great opportunity to present remotely. I know that you're getting in front of AgTech presenters can be difficult. We were on the road last week, and it's always great to have this at the comfort of your own laptop, I suppose, or computer. My name's Scott. I work as an account manager for all of our Queensland accounts. I mainly work on a lot of our growth initiatives and bringing AgriWebb conversations to livestock farmers. I'll share a little bit about the story, but unpack a couple of layers of what we're doing as a business. Fundamentally, AgriWebb is a record-keeping solution, replacing that paddock book that may get lost. If information even makes it to that paddock book, that's another question. I often get quite stumped by how much information is stored in people's heads. So AgriWebb is a mobile and computer-based application that works online and offline to effectively visualize and capture information on your livestock operation. We work mainly across breeding, commercial breeding, trading, backgrounding, components of feedlotting, but mainly we are looking to work with family businesses all the way up through to some of Australia's largest corporates on digitizing their livestock record keeping. AgriWebb is available on Android and Apple devices, also on any iPad, tablet, or computer. Effectively, what we're doing is simplifying the way that you're capturing data on your farm. On the bottom left screen, you can see that we visualize your entire farm map. We look at visualizing the mobs and what's happening to them, looking at digitizing the way that you're keeping track of inventory, audit compliance, things like that, and then ultimately giving you data-driven decisions. So we know that farmers don't necessarily want more data; they want the ability to make better decisions that are going to benefit their business. And I believe AgriWebb is a solution that houses a lot of that power. A bit about us as a business. We're coming up to 10, 11 years old now, so we're not so much a small startup anymore. We are a reasonably grounded business. We have about 7,000 different farmers, over 14,000 different users. We bring on about 100 new farms per month and set them up to effectively use AgriWebb at a number of different levels, right? We have, I have one customer who's 86. He just wants to see where his mobs are and drag and drop those mobs as he moves them in the paddocks, all the way up to some very business-minded and data-driven individuals who want to run their farm more like a corporate and get to that level without having to go through all the data analytics and the spreadsheets to get there. So we have a number of different market shares across the country. Queensland, it's definitely an interesting space. We know that there's a lot to be gained in this area. We found a lot of traction in New South Wales, Victoria, and the southern pastoral regions. We are starting to introduce a lot more product benefits for Queensland and the territory, but we mainly find that businesses in these areas will benefit from not only having their livestock data, but their water data and their pasture data in one place. And I'll talk a little bit about our AgriWebb marketplace and effectively what that means. So talking a little bit about the AgriWebb marketplace, what does that even mean? AgriWebb marketplace is where we've looked at pulling data from various different databases, be that Cibo Labs, Farmbot, AgBot, Farmo, Ruminati, your animal tracking hardware like Gallagher, TrueTest, Allflex, etc. Pulling that data in automatically into one place into AgriWebb, so it's all in the same spot. We can then combine that data, report on it, and so that you have the ability to compare a number of different data sources and make those data-driven decisions on your property and on your business. For example, that Cibo Labs piece there, we effectively, as Phil mentioned, pull in the total standing dried matter, the feed on offer, every 5 days into your mobile phone. It's then visualized on your farm map, paddock by paddock, and we also pair that with your stocking rates to give you an effective number of days of grazing left remaining. What that means is that we can start tracking paddock performance, cattle performance per paddock, your paddock moves, how long those animals are in that paddock, and ultimately start guiding decision making on a day-to-day basis. I get a lot of questions around, well, we've been doing this for 30 so years, and there's no way that this technology is going to replace that experience. It does just give you the guide stick to how you're looking to check on these things as you need to, particularly if you've got a growing business or a growing team across multiple different properties. And so that's exactly what this looks like. We have a number of different paddocks, color-coded, very simple to see, and visualizes that grazing and feed on offer data for you. And the Farmbot solution, again, it simply in-houses the data that you're collecting through rain gauges or water tank sensors and populates that information into AgriWebb. What that means for you is that we can start pairing stock days per 100 mil of rainfall, looking at the livestock data that you're collecting in AgriWebb and combining it with your rainfall and water information. Start tracking that over time. It's automated, it's all in one place, and it gives you the ability to guide your decisions and plan making over the coming months and years to come. We live stream a lot of that information. So for example, in Farmbot and our integration there, all of those same notifications that you would get in Farmbot that are pushed through into AgriWebb to give you indications of where you're at from a tank reading perspective. So we're really offering the dynamic and flexible option of viewing and seeing data in a number of different ways in all of our platforms. And again, rainfall charts pulling straight in to give you a direct feed from those sensors that are basically connected in real time to AgriWebb. What we're looking to do, and Ruminati is a carbon, they are a carbon company that effectively gives you a number of different options for looking down those carbon project development. If we're thinking about carbon projects, Ruminati is a company that manages that data. What they need in order to pursue those projects is data on your livestock operation. And so what we're looking to do in the coming months is give you the ability to basically provide maps and DSE loads, simplify the way that you're working with these various carbon project developers, particularly Ruminati, to in-house data, provide baselines, and start looking at whether that's carbon credits or carbon insets or whatever carbon opportunities you're looking to do with your business. AgriWebb is starting to look down that sustainability pathway in a very serious and we're putting a lot of resources into developing that. So that's just one thing I'd like to touch on, is if you're thinking about carbon projects and if you're thinking about what can we do with our business to diversify our income, one big, very big point I would make is start collecting data on your stocking rates, start collecting data on what's happening with your livestock on farm in a simple and traceable format, be that AgriWebb, and it means that you give yourself the optionality to pursue those projects at any stage in the future. So that's a little bit about the AgriWebb marketplace. It's basically where we can set up these connections with all various ag tech products pretty much instantaneously. It's available on our AgriWebb website. You can set those up simply. So if you're already an AgriWebb customer and you have any questions about that, please reach out. If you do have any other questions about how AgriWebb would work from a functionality standpoint, would it work for your operation, I'm always available to have that chat and just see where you might be placed. I think the biggest comment I get around our platform is it's always a journey and you have to start somewhere, and we work with you to basically map your journey in AgriWebb, how you're using it and how we can get to the point where you're providing yourself with a safeguard for future-proofing your business. I'll probably just talk to this quickly because I'm the one who's talking still. With our partnerships, both Cibo Labs, Farmbot, and AgriWebb, as partners with AgForce, we're very pleased to offer discounts on our first year subscription. That is effectively a couple $100 off our AgriWebb platform. And I know with Cibo Labs, Phil, maybe you want to talk to this, that there's a 60-day trial that's available with Cibo Labs and AgForce. And likewise, there's a 15% off Farmbot hardware until the middle of this month. So as AgForce members, there is a benefit with joining up to some of these companies. So I would very much implore you to reach out, ask the question, and if it's a good fit, go for it.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott, for quickly touching on those. Yeah, so really, I guess we will open it up to the audience and see if there are any more questions. If you want to raise your hand or pop something in the chat for any of us to answer, or alternatively, our contact details are on this slide. So you're happy to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to chat through anything discussed tonight, or if you have any other questions. You will be receiving a recording of the webinar, so you'll be able to share this with others. And who missed it? Oh, sorry, that was cricket. Yes, Gavin. Gavin, I'll just have to make you a presenter so you can ask the question. Gavin, you should be able to ask now, unmute.
Gavin, if you're having some trouble, you can just type it into the chat if you're having trouble with your speakers.
Hello, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just a question probably for Phil and Farmbot. I use actually all three of your products, which is fantastic. But I was looking to go from what we have in the amount of feed on offer to, is there a plan to be predictive? And what I mean is, you now have my rainfall data. You have clear back history of what our pastures are doing, and AgriWebb actually has all my DSE and stocking rates that are running around my farm. So I guess that asks the next question of, with the development of AI and predictive tools, are we going to be able to predict how much pasture I may be able to develop, and then allow me to forecast how many animals I can run? Clearly, that's not going to be a Bureau of Met piece that's 6 months, 12 months in the future, but it might be 1 to 2 months with the amount of soil moisture and rainfall I have and the current temperature and grass species I have.
Yeah, great question, Gavin. And so short answer is yes. At the moment, the pasture growth models that are available are really point-based models which use very coarse climate data. We've got a project called Foragecaster, which you can actually probably Google and you probably find some information on it. It's about a $7 million joint initiative between AgriWebb, Cibo Labs, Mullion Group, and Food Agility CRC, and a number of universities. And that's basically all about taking our estimates of pasture biomass and downscaling them in terms of driving basically a pasture growth model and integrating the animal data to be forecasting not just pasture growth but also live weight gain as well. There's also some really exciting work starting to come along with OptiWeigh, and to be able to integrate this information with OptiWeigh going forward as well to look at your daily weight gain. So short answer is yes, we're not there yet, but over the next couple of years, we're certainly planning to have a very sophisticated live weight and pasture forecasting capability.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions in there? Question there on the traffic light system for paddocks based on feed. Yeah, so when you look at the AgriWebb map, you basically get a sort of a green scaled sort of light green to dark green, depending on the pasture biomass. So it is a simple sort of traffic light map. And then within the AgriWebb, within the Cibo Labs environment, we do the same thing, but just stretch the scale a little bit, so you know where the bottom 25% is and the top 25% of your paddocks. So certainly having some information to look at, to be able to rank your paddocks in terms of their current status and make some more refined decisions in terms of those paddock moves basically that you might have planned, that when you look at the data you decide to go to a paddock that you hadn't planned to based on local rainfall or whatever else is occurring on your farm. Question there for you, Elle.
Yes, Clay, thanks for the question. So at this stage, it's not available at the moment, but that's definitely something we love getting feedback, and something I can put forward to our production team to have that sort of notification system around the rainfall events. I think it's a great suggestion.
This is a little snapshot there with the weekly satellite imagery that's coming through AgriWebb. Effectively, it sees those rainfall events and the effective rainfall and the impact that has on your pasture growth. So you're effectively getting a rainfall distribution map by looking at the pasture biomass every week.
That's a good point. Thanks, Phil. Lovely. Well, if there aren't any other questions at this point, I think we might wrap it up there. Thank you, AgForce, for hosting us. Thank you, Phil and Scott, for joining us. It's been great to hear both of you. And thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. And we hope that you get in touch if you have any further questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See you guys.